2 years ago, I wrote a video called The Cultural Significance of Snapcaster Mage, which felt very much like a eureka moment for me in realizing I could combine my academic interests with my favorite game. It was my first video essay, a label I don't really like but will use because it's become the popular descriptor for this kind of medium. It's also far and beyond my least favorite piece of work to date. The editing was sloppy, the voiceover was muddled and echoey, and most importantly, the tone was unnecessarily dramatic and whiny. I find it unwatchable now. So today I want to pay better service to the point I was pushing in that video with a little more perspective and experience in mind. Okay, here we go. The story goes like this. In 1996, in an effort to promote the Duelist magazine, Mark Rosewater pitched the idea of a Magic All-Star game that would pit the season's top 16 players against one another in a round-robin tournament full of wacky formats. Due to budget constraints, this tournament would have a $0 prize purse. Instead of cash, the winner would walk away with the unique opportunity to design their own Magic card. Oli Rad won the very first Invitational in Hong Kong on the back of Snake Basket and designed 2 cards that never saw print. The first was a world enchantment in red with no oracle text. Its design would simply act as a way to destroy other world enchantments in play. This effect was nerfed with the Vision's rules change, rendering Ollie's design completely useless. His follow-up card was a 1 blue counterspell that put itself back on top of its owner's library when it resolved. This was rejected for being entirely too strong. Ollie's third card design would come years later following a hiatus from Magic to join the armed forces. As such, the first Invitational card to actually see print was designed by the second year's winner, Darwin Castle. His original submission was very close to the final iteration of Avalanche Riders, but it lacked the echo cost and was upgraded to have haste by R&D. Now here's the kicker. Invitational cards sport the likeness of the professional players who designed them. This aspect started here, with Castle's face on Avalanche Riders, after Mark Rosewater sent in a photo of the winner to Edward P. Beard Jr. alongside the art description. This unintentionally sparked the tradition that is now most associated with and debated about these cards. In the 9 years that followed came a string of powerful designs by some of the game's most renowned players. In 2000, Chris Picula designed Meddling Mage, which originally was a mono blue 3-drop, but was reworked to include white to match Planeshift's multicolor theme. Later that same year, John Finkel won the Invitational in Sydney and lobbied for a 4-mana Wrath that untapped 4 lands upon its resolution. This was heavily downgraded to Shadow Mage Infiltrator, which is admittedly not a bad card, but was overshadowed by another 3-drop of the era that held the same mana cost. In 2001, Kai Buddha won Cape Town. Void Mage Prodigy was the reworking of his enchantment design, but was nerfed by R&D's Future League after eliminating the supporting cast of wizards that would synergize with its ability. To boot, the original card's likeness depicted an unflattering Kai, which was reimagined 2 years later on a promo card with new artwork by Christopher Muller. And here is where I will pause. Because now, looking back at the Invitational, the likeness of the game's greatest players is where fans of the cards are divided. Since 2007, the final year of the tournament, only 4 of the 11 Invitational cards have not been reprinted. The other 7 possess new depictions of these players' creations, but are void of their faces. 2 years ago, I used Snapcaster Mage as an example to criticize this practice as erasing history. Now though, I've come to fully embrace this change. So let's look at Snapcaster Mage again. The card is the perfect storm of flavor and function and has become one of the game's most powerful and iconic creatures. Since its printing in Innistrad, it has made waves in every constructed format. As is rare in the hyped-up environment that is spoiler season, browsing old forums has shown me that just about everyone evaluated Snapcaster Mage correctly upon its debut, calling the card a tempo powerhouse capable of eternal play forever. It flexed its muscles in the banned Flicker deck of Return to Ravnica Standard, then became a staple in a myriad of modern and legacy blue decks running counterspells and cheap cantrips.
Snapcaster Mage.
Here it comes.
Targeting Lightning Bolt. Yep.
As most players know though, this card was not supposed to see print. In 2007, when Thiago Chan won the Invitational in Germany, he submitted a card called Denying Channel, which I just noticed recently is probably a play on words of his last name. Anyway, the card was a land that tapped for colorless mana and had an activated ability of 2 blue, discard Denying Channel, counter target spell. Now, many folks think that this was far and beyond worse than Snapcaster Mage, but judging by the reach and utility of a card like Ramanop Ruins, there may be room to reconsider. Regardless, Snapcaster Mage is what was accepted.
In the lineage of insanely powerful Invitational cards, this guy fits right in.
2007 also marked the end of the Invitational. That was 10 years ago, and since then Snapcaster Mage has been reprinted twice. Twice it has rebounded and maintained its market value, and twice it has been celebrated for successful pieces of new art. What I failed to remember on my first pass of this subject is that Magic is better the more it is customizable. I also overlooked the fact that these cards have functionally never changed. Dark Confidant is still triggering accidental suicides. Ranger of Eos is still tutoring up 2 cards. But the game is now richer with Ryan Pancoast's illustration on its reprint. Seriously, this Gumroad episode of the time-lapse from start to finish is a delight, and the foil copies are even more enchanting. And of course, the older versions are still available for anyone wishing to pay tribute to the designers. Mike Linnemann has offered up a few ways of paying them homage with new art that bears no likeness to the Invitational winners. One way is through italicized credit in the text box in much the same style of M15's guest cards. Another is by cleverly paying tribute to the original art, but this takes more coordination between artists and directors. Magic could pull this off, and I'd love to see it too. More importantly though, I see the Invitational cards now as an opportunity for Wizards to move horizontally. The creative teams can explore old worlds and create new characters, which gives players more room to pick and choose their favorites. This is, after all, the linchpin to Magic's success. It also gives them room to return to and rework their own ideas, just like I am with this video. When mistakes are forever preserved by the nature of printed cards, it's nice to have some freedom and flexibility to revisit an old space. And hey, likeness isn't fully phased out of Magic. Star City Games has continued the tradition with their own version of the Invitational, which rewards winners with custom tokens that resemble the players who finish on top.
Dylan Donegan has just won the Season 4 Invitational here in Seattle.
Sometimes, too, we get conspicuous lookalikes that slip through the cracks and recall familiar faces in the pro scene. Harnessed Lightning resembling Travis Wu, and Murderous Compulsion looking eerily like Brian Kibler are some of the recent gems. And artists themselves are perhaps the most guilty of incorporating their own likeness into the game. Volkan Baga, the artist of the original Snapcaster Mage, has done this quite a few times. Karl Kopinski has done it too. While illustrators often must use themselves as reference for their painting, I think this is a clever and fun way to immortalize themselves into Magic's visual history. So to wrap up here, I want to encourage players to embrace the letting go of old traditions. By doing so, we are rewarded with more utility and availability of our favorite card designs. We also get spoiled with new art and much needed reprints that lets us play with these cards in supplemental sets to come. And if you're ever in need of a great story, the Invitational cards will always be there. This episode was made possible through a proud partnership with Card Kingdom. Use affiliate link studies to help support the show and pick up Magic products in a snap. You know, of all the iterations of Snapcaster Mage we've seen through the years, Torrential Gearhulk, Goblin Dark Dwellers, and the like, this seems to be like the most busted one. I got to play with Kess this weekend in my Commander Play group, and the card's so good. The card's so freaking good. I would love to see it make some waves in Vintage or Legacy. That would be sweet. All right, if you enjoyed the video, of course, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Go ahead and check out more of my card studies here or on my website, risticstudies.com. I like to push Card Kingdom. They are my proud partner in all of this. And of course, if you would like to help me keep going, then there's always the Patreon page, which has a bunch of perks, signed cards. If you watch the Ranker video, we are sending out signed Rankers this month. Yeah, I like to treat my patrons well. They keep me going. That's about it. Let me know what your favorite Invitational card is in the comments and what you think about Snapcaster Mage. It's one of my favorite creatures. I think it's LSV's best creature of all time. And I enjoyed going down the rabbit hole and taking a look at an old piece of work of mine and also an old debate that I think needs to be put to rest by now. So this was a fun video. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks again for watching, guys. Cheers.